Willacy County Commissioners Court will hold a special meeting at the County Judge's Office Commissioners Courtroom at 576 West Main Street in Renville, Texas 78580 on Tuesday, February the 18th of 2025 at 2 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the following item. If during the course of the meeting any discussion of any item on the agenda to be held in executive or closed session, Willacy County Commissioners Court will convene in such executive or closed session in accordance with section 551.001 of the Texas Government Code. So any final action, final decision, final vote be required in the opinion of Willacy County Commissioners Court in regards to any matter considering such closed or executive meeting or session, then the final decision, final vote should be either in the open meeting covered by the notice upon the reconvening of the public meeting or a subsequent meeting of the Willacy County Commissioners Court upon notice thereof as the county shall determine. So with that, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Madam Chief Deputy Clerk, could you establish a quorum, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Commissioner Precinct 2.
Present.
Commissioner Precinct 3. Absent. Commissioner Precinct 4.
Present.
I'm the county judge.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
We go to line item number 3, discussion action and approve to obligate partial county funding for engineering, design, and construction of streets and lighting for Texas CDBG contract number CFC 210274, action required. Okay, so Commissioner Avila. Go ahead.
Is it okay if I pass some of the information on? That should be that same map.
Oh, yeah.
And this one has the excluded entrance.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Judge and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Paulina Vega. I work for Hanson Professional Services, who's the engineer of record for the project. I guess I'll start with explaining a little bit of the project funding. This grant is a Colonia grant funded by the Texas Department of Agriculture. The total grant funds for construction that were awarded to the county were $855,000, and the county obligated $50,000 to match that grant, giving a total of $905,000 for construction funding. So this project started with being two parts. One part being wastewater improvements in La Sara, and then the other part being in Sebastian. So this project was designed with both areas having their wastewater improvements. When the project was first bid, because this project has already been bid 3 times, it was bid back in December 21st of 2023, and if you look in the second sheet that I gave you, that'll have this summary. That project or that bid came in at $1,336,578, which made the project go over the grant funding by $431,578. So in order to mitigate that and try to get the project to be under or closer to the grant, to the construction grant funding, the project was modified. We removed some of the items so that we could, and scope of work so that we could get closer to that. The project was rebid on February 8th of 2024. At that time, the base bid came in at $1,169,021, which gave us a deficit of $264,021 in the grant funding. So the project was once again looked at and became what was finally just the improvements in La Sara. And that's what we have here in the first page. The total base bid for just for the Lasada portion came to $536,288, which gave the county some remaining funds, which is $368,712. So the issue came up. Okay, what can be done with this funds? Option number one was to send it back to the Texas Department of Agriculture. However, if the county were to decide to do that, there is some implications of being further eligible in the future for future grant funding. There is some penalties for that. So that was considered. The other option is to do additional improvements. So one of the ideas that came about was to do street improvements in the area that had already received the wastewater improvements. And with an estimate, we came up to $330,000 for those proposed improvements. And that's the map that you have in front of you, which would be paving the yellow areas where the sewer was installed. The $330,000 is for a rural section to be fully reconstructed with roadside ditches. So, and according to the grant requirements, lighting must be included if it's street improvements. So it also includes lighting improvements. So that would be a total of $330,000. If the county were to proceed with those improvements, then there's about $16,000 left over in those construction funds. And I'm sorry, I didn't go back and explain. There's also change order number one that's currently on the current wastewater improvements that would also be included. So out of the remaining grant funds of $368,712, you remove the change order amount of $22,500, and then the proposed improvements of $330,000. That's where you would remain with the $16,000 left over, or about. With that, then there's still some engineering fees that would need to be considered. $70,000 would be for the design, bidding, and construction administration of the proposed street improvements. And then $35,000 is the amount and effort that we've put into modifying the bids, the plans and the bids for the 3 times that it was bid. So that's effort that has already been made on our part, which would put total engineering fees to be paid at $105,000. So if we're able to use the remaining grant funds, what the county would be responsible for would be a total of $88,788, which is what's listed there at the very end. So I hope I explained that well enough. If not, please let me know what I can go back to and explain what those funds are for.
Well, just some point. Is the $35,000 are services that have already been provided?
Correct. Yes, those were for the three rebids that we had to do in order to get the project going.
So each bid was a little over 10 grand?
Correct. And it's for providing the bidding services and all the modifications that we needed to do to the plans to get it there.
Question. Can I ask you a question real quick there? Under the street lighting, what is the cost for the street lighting?
The cost for the street lighting is about $6,000. You mean for construction?
Yes, because I see
Yes.
street light, estimated construction cost
And street lighting.
and street lighting, so I'm thinking
Yes, it's included in there. We're estimating about $6,000 per street light, and it's about 12 lights.
And that's included in that?
And that's included in the 330. Now that is what the funding agency is requiring.
Is it a specific light that they're requiring?
They're not. It's not a specific light that they're requiring. It just needs to be half street lights. The county doesn't have requirements on street lighting, so we would need to fall back on state standards, which would be TxDOT and the engineering, Electrical Engineering Association standards for lighting a road, which would come up to 12 lights.
So are these lights, how are they going to be powered?
They're going to be solar powered. So it wouldn't be an electrical where the county would be responsible for that monthly light bill. And I do have that information.
There is a light bill?
No,
there
There won't be, okay.
There won't be.
I heard it wrong.
And these are the ones that that we would be proposing. If
They just installed lights in Asana. I'm just wondering, would it be something similar?
I don't know exactly what they installed there, but these would be the ones that we would propose, or if the county would like to, make a suggestion, we could also take a look at it. Of course, we need to take a look at, each individual light has different power lighting requirements. So we would need to verify that the spacing would also work and that the number of lights would stay the same. But we could definitely take a look at that.
Do you have anything today that shows where lights are required?
Where lights are required?
Yes, in the grant.
I don't. That's the grant administrators, the one that had the question made to the Texas Department of Agriculture, and they're the ones that said that it was a requirement.
Because we put in a lot of...
Hi, Iris. Sorry to interrupt. It's Kat. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Hi. Sorry, I had to join late. I have another meeting right now, but I know this is very time sensitive. I wanted to clarify that the lighting requirement is actually a state of Texas federal code or state of Texas code requirement because Losara is a colonia area. It's not a Texas Department of Agriculture requirement, so there was no waiver or any way to get around it.
Well, this is Commissioner Garcia. It strikes me as odd because you're saying it's a federal requirement?
It's a state requirement.
State requirement. Because not even 2 years ago, we constructed a road. It's a county road. Matter of fact, y'all were the engineers. Grant Works was a grant manager, I believe. It might have been somebody else.
No, I think.
And there was no street lights. It was a TDA grant. And there was no requirement. There was no requirement for lights there. It's also considered a colonial area. And we're currently in the middle of Sebastian. And it encompasses a fairly large area. And so if what you're telling me is we're going to have to put lights in that area. If what you're telling me, but nobody had ever told us that before.
That is surprising. I will look into it, but we've asked a lot of questions with the TDA as well to see if they have any more clarification just in case. And there's so far everything we're finding says required. But I understand that's confusing. I'll look into that as well because I took over this project as the project manager just a few weeks ago, so I didn't have that background, so I will double check on that and let you know as soon as I find out.
Kat, I mean, we've never met, but I know you're new. Are you relatively new?
I'm not new to Grant Works, but I am relatively new to this project.
Well, good to meet you, but I mean, I feel like every time somebody there's a turnover rate over there. Is that something new comes up, and it kind of puts it on us. And I don't mind. We have to do it. We have to do it. But it'd be nice to know.
Well, this is a requirement that's been discussed for a while. I'm sorry that it wasn't communicated though. And so yeah, like I said, I'll get some more background on the requirement and why maybe it wasn't required on those other grants and why it might be required or not on this one.
And I really want people to have lights, But it
Yeah.
it doesn't if it's a state requirement, and we've already put up lights. In I said we Commissioner Guerra has put up lights over there, you know. But I think part of it is because we did it, and those two little words that we haven't discussed in any of these projects is in kind work. That's something that sounds like to me that we may be able to do in kind for a lot less, especially in the Southtown area, if it's required, or in all these other projects that we're doing. But I don't like getting this kind of information, which is useful, this late in the game, And it seems like this kind of stuff is coming over with other projects are bleeding over into, and it all has to do with people changing hands or changing job titles over there. So, but anyway, it still seems like it's a minor cost. You're looking at about $6,000.
$6,000
Per
per
light.
light.
Per light.
Per light, yes. So it comes out to $70,000.
How much?
70?
Because that's not specifically separated in here.
No,
So it's 78,000.
70.
70.
70 is what we were estimating.
So 70 of the 330.
70 of the 330 is the street light.
So a big percentage. That's a lot. To me, that's a lot of money. But if we got to do it, we got to do it.
I just, I went over to La Sara. I went to go look at the lights that Mr. Guerra installed, and I got basically the same thing. We just installed them last week. I did 4 lights, and it was about $1,300 for all 4 that we did.
That's more, and they're professionally installed. I think
They're solar.
This is excessive. Now, have you already designed the
No.
lights?
That's what we're discussing right now, is if the county would like to continue with the design of the street lighting and the street improvements.
Right. Well, I got kind of kicked. I didn't get kicked off. I stepped off this train whenever everything moved away from Sebastian. But if I would, I guess I should have took a better look at it. I was relatively new. That back in bid number 2, February 24, we were 264,000 over. We're looking at now playing close to 100,000 over. I know you said the money. I was wrong on the numbers. I would have looked strong at keeping it and just paying the overage affected both communities. But in the interest of not overspending and staying within budget, we decided to do something
And
different.
I think it was also time at,
And it's time.
I think we had to have a bid assigned, quickly. I think
So
that
so
was
it's,
also
now, if
there.
you would have told me that every time we go out for bid, you're going to charge an additional 11,000, I might have looked at it a little bit different. Again, I was new. That's my fault. And it looks like a lot of this is going to be going towards, or I see 105,000 of it's going to go to engineering fees, minus what we have left over, and it's 88,000. So if we were to take out the street lighting, would we be back on the positive side?
If you,
Pretty close.
and I think that's a question for Kat. I believe the engineering fees are not eligible to be paid with those construction funds unless there's the new project that gets awarded or that you guys move forward with.
Right, and that would only be if the lighting is included.
Correct. That's what.
Kind of got our arm twisted a little bit there. So let me ask you this: what y'all put in this design here, I don't know, Kat can't see it. This is a street improvement. Was it ever thought to make that into curb and gutter instead of just a bar ditch improvement?
No, this is just what what we did. If you'd like, for that to be curb and gutter, it can definitely be designed into that. But this is what we estimated in order to use up the remaining funds. Now, if you go to curb and gutter, you might not be able to do this full length in curb and gutter because obviously the cost goes up for including the concrete for that, and then possibly storm sewer if it's needed, and that kind of stuff.
The other thing is actually the question I wanted to ask: are those roads paved right now?
I believe they're caliche.
They are. There are caliche. As a matter of fact, some of it is there.
Cemetery road is
No
really
caliche.
good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good that we are taking a step up. I like that. And I had initially asked, and I was told no, the overage, because we knew there was going to be an overage. If I could keep it in La Sara, or punted over towards the Separatita areas in certain colonias also. And I was told explicitly no, that it couldn't be done. So I guess that's why I'm having a little bit of
Sure.
heartburn, just a little bit. It goes away about all this, and I just found out about it last week. What I found. So the other alternative would just be to cancel the whole thing and return the 368. Is that correct?
Correct.
But
I
then
mean,
we
that's
would-
an option. That's an option that the county has.
We would still owe you Hanson how much?
$35,000, which is the effort that we put for those 30.
Is that covered by the grant?
Kat, would the 35 for additional engineering fees to bid out the project? Could that be covered through the grant?
Excuse me. I believe it should be able to be. I will, of course, we'll have to ask PDA to confirm, but I don't see anything off the top of my head that would mean that it couldn't be covered. It's still under the total fee cap amount that I sent you earlier, so it should be fine.
Well, but earlier you said wasn't, or may not be. So now we don't know if it is or not. I would like to know from our grant administrator to have a direct answer.
If we are, well, I thought that was a different case that we were discussing earlier, but if it's just the extra bidding amount, it should be able to be covered. I thought you were talking about a higher number for if we potentially do some more redesign.
So you're saying rebidding is included? I mean, it qualifies?
Should be.
Should be?
You should know that.
Yes, it's still under the fee cap amount.
But then in the future, you said something about,
There might be some penalties if they return the funds, Kat, and make new applications. Could you?
Yes, there would be some penalties,
So
but
over here.
Willacy County is very competitive in terms of grant applications, so it's unlikely that it will really have much of an impact.
That's what Shirley had told me, and that's what I was waiting to hear.
Sure.
That yes, there could be an impact. We've already felt one impact because this project was 2 years late. Okay,
Mhm.
and then now I remember Shirley telling me that there could potentially, yes, there'll be an impact, but we're competitive enough that, and we did do something with it, that it's going to be very minimal impact, if any.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
so when it first started, it was, you had half to work in Sebastian and half to work in Osada.
It was actually more. There was more recipients. There was like 27 recipients in Sebastian, and there was like 9 in La Salle.
So you ended up cutting some of yours.
I cut it all out because it wasn't enough. I didn't realize at the time.
But
That's
then-
my fault.
But then why are we paying more over here to?
That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Because it's a matter of whether we want those streets paved or not. If we don't want to pave, we'll just return the money.
So
That's
so
what
we're,
it is.
I'm sorry, and we're caught between wanting to help people. We really do. I want to help people. That's why we did it the way we did it. And my I guess setback was that I wasn't, at the time, and it still is, $264,000 is a lot of money, that now, we may have had to take another look at it, but I guarantee you one thing, there was no street light requirements in any of their designs. You're saying you're charging us for 3. There wasn't any street lighting in any of those.
No, because at that time it was just wastewater improvements. The
Well,
lighting
it's-
requirements come with street improvements.
Okay. Well, one of my streets was gonna have to be slightly redone because they had to cut across them, but you're correct. So all that being said, in my opinion, what I'd like to see, but of course I'm only one person, is that we stay within budget, number one. And that if we pay extra, because it's for, we have to have some kind of return on our investment. I think the folks deserve a street, if they're on Caliche right now or on dirt. Worse, I think we deserve a street there.
This street is very similar to the one you just opened, East street
Yes,
where there's portions where there's no houses, right?
yes.
But it just makes sense to have
It,
a
it,
street there.
it makes great sense.
This is kind of like the same way, except this one is open.
Right.
It is open,
I-
but it's on the outskirts of the community.
And I agree, I want to help Lasada. I would have loved to help Southtown more, but we did get a lot. We did get a lot going over there. And we're trying to stay within budget. I mean, we're real close. It's a lot bigger project. However, I feel like maybe we can do the street lighting in kind, in matter, but we're saying it's not a TDA requirement. It's supposedly a state of Texas requirement. Maybe we can ask for a variance or a waiver, or just we'll do it when we get the chance. Because if it's not TDA for the grant, I think we're in good shape. And especially at this price.
It also depends on what type of lighting that they're talking about too.
Yeah, they're talking about the highest end of it.
You know what I mean? What they're requiring, because what Mr. Guerra put up there was, I think he did 35 lights.
Yeah,
Because it was a Magic Valley.
That's a whole different.
Yeah.
That's a sweet deal over there.
and I
The
think
lights that they have now, there's only, it's not a lot of coverage. I mean, there's different types of
Yeah, on
solar
the,
lights and whatnot.
yeah,
and
on the
so,
looms, on how bright they can get.
yeah.
Yeah, I went with the higher one. Yeah, I went with the higher
Which
one.
wasn't
but-
very much more.
Which wasn't very much more, yeah, but
But does it meet the state requirements you're
that's
talking about?
well, and that was something that we had the discussion about whether we need to abide by TxDOT's regulations, or can we go by our own, which we set precedent by what Commissioner Guerra did on the other streets. That's a question for you, Kat.
It may even be illegal because they're saying because we don't have policy, we got to refer back to state policy. We can institute some of our own policy because the state is going to be a lot more. I mean, the state, their regulations on their roads, they got to be 60 to 80 feet wide, paved, this turn. It's a whole different ballgame.
So let me ask you this, Kat. I guess this is more for you than for Paulina. Is, do we have to go, and I think I asked this initially in the very first meeting that we had, pertaining to this effort here with the streets. Do we have to go with the paving in comparison to what was provided for sewer? In other words,
What do you mean?
in other words, I know you don't have this in front of you, but it's showing where the sewer project started and ended, right? And that's where we're paving.
Right. So because that area is already environmentally cleared, that's where the paving would be done.
But
That's kind of the option that TDA is potentially willing to improve because willing to approve because it would expedite the process because it's already environmentally cleared.
well, and what I'm asking though is on the efforts of cutting back what we have to come up with, can we cut back on the linear footage of the paving?
Yes. It just can't be more than that area.
So that would be.
I was thinking the same
I want
thing.
to cut it here.
That's what we did in
You don't want to
Southtown.
leave anybody out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
well, I
cut
think
the
he's saying as far as the
7th and
width
West.
of the road, because right now it's between 12 to 14,
It's supposed to,
and they want to expand it to 20 feet.
well, yeah, that's the minimum.
Well, that's just.
That's the minimum that your county road should be in order to have two vehicles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but our Calito was on it. Not all of them.
When I came in, and that's what I learned over there, is that minimum of 20 foot.
Well, I get it, but there's some of our right of ways that are only 30. So that's going to leave very, very little roadway on each
Well, the
side.
frontage.
So that's where it makes it kind of tough. But yes, it's the widening of the road. That's a great point, Judge. I was thinking the same thing. But then you got to figure out, the commissioner will have to figure out which is the, where to start, where to
Well, I
stop.
think, and this is what I'm thinking, is there's two areas that I think we need to I guess, that we're able to have flexibility in terms of cost. One is the streetlights, right? And so, Kat, on the streetlights, there's, if we were to cut back and, okay, you tell me, the number of lights depends on the linear footage of the paving, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so we can't cut the number of lights other than just maybe the quality, but then here again, if we need to abide by text, that leaves that out. But nonetheless, if those are the two areas I think that we'll be able to have flexibility in terms of cost, because the other big thing I think that will come into play is something that we're learning here in recent days about the bidding, which is why we had to go for 3 bids here in this particular project.
Right.
So we don't know how this bid's gonna come up with.
Yeah, alternative.
But I guess we're here at this juncture. So having said that, I think the question here is, do we want to, because you need to know what the schematics of what's gonna be put for a bid has to be. Right?
Yes, I would, I need to know what you guys want to do.
So I guess this is the question. You're saying not to have to put up any more money, right?
I would like to stay within budget.
And so then that would have to be a shrinking of the project since the get-go, which we're at this point, right?
Correct.
And then the other clarification, and I'm not clear on this, Kat, or are you clear that the 35,000 will be covered by the grant?
I'm sorry, I'm having really bad allergy today. I believe it should be. I'm double checking right now and waiting on a response, but I believe it should be. It's under the engineering fee cap with the grant requirements. So in my experience, that should be approved.
All right, because, and the reason I'm bringing it up in this fashion is because I don't want to send money back. We had I want to say it was a $500,000 project having to do with new sewer that we didn't make happen. Now that wasn't money that was sent back. It was just an opportunity that we lost out on, and so I don't want to get the reputation of us being able to apply and be awarded, and then us not following through with it. Now it makes a lot of sense because here we're having to tap into contributing, more monies, but that one fell through and it didn't happen. So I just don't want this one to be also us having to send back this money. And I know how it happened, right, with the situation in Sebastian and so forth. And maybe in hindsight, maybe we should have gone with that.
Hindsight,
right?
we could have, it would have been.
But we're here now, and we just need to decide what we want to do at this juncture.
Can I ask a question for Kat? Is the county able to provide that street lighting themselves?
That I would have to potentially. I'm sorry that that's my answer so often. I wish I'd had some of these answers before y'all for joining or just knowing that they were being discussed, but potentially because that would be considered a forced account labor when localities do some of the work themselves, and that is allowed with TTA grants, but it has to be requested and approved. And based on this project, history and what's I really doubt that TDA would approve it at this point. It also involves a lot more documentation and paperwork, which is fine, and I would provide the guidance to get that done. But I just want y'all to be aware of what would go into it. It's kind of a heavy lift in terms of the work that goes into it and documenting everything and submitting everything to the agencies.
It almost seems like it might be better to, number one, include them and pay extra $70,000, or number two, exclude them, but legally, by not violating any kind of policy or anything like that. Which, like I said, this is a new one on us, in my opinion, and it all has to do because of our county policy. That's what I'm hearing. So anyway,
not having it.
yes, because then you're referred to state policy. So if we don't have it,
we didn't have it because we couldn't afford it.
we didn't have it because we didn't need it at the time. But
Right,
now,
we couldn't afford it. Why would we?
yeah,
Now with what happened, in all honesty, was that we visited this effort in 2008, and we just couldn't afford the solar lights were $12,000 each, just the light itself with the battery. Back then, now they're so, in comparison, they're affordable, which was the reason why Commissioner Guerra was able to do what he did, right? For that amount of money.
I want to piggyback off of Lasada and what you did here in the county of Rainbow. I'm going to start in South Down, where I'd actually talk to. I know we're off topic, to the Lyford schools to see if they could identify where they may need schools or lights for the school buses. That's where we started. But then again, I keep thinking about the lighting and state roads and all that. Drive around out here at night, none of the state roads have any lights on them, but they have started putting up lights at intersections.
Yeah, they did.
But only some of them. Either way, I think we've talked about that. I got a lot better understanding. I don't mean to appear negative. I like staying within budget, and there's a lot of money there. We don't want to let it go back. We don't want to leave any on the table. But I think if we're smart about it, we can piecemeal this thing together. Starting by the streetlights, because we may be able to go all the way through without the streetlights. I may be wrong.
I would like to go see that road, those two roads. I've never seen it. I mean, I don't know where it is.
I mean, it's a large amount of funds that are left over. I would hate to deobligate them and go back, because, I mean, there's several ongoing projects that we do have that are more than 25% that we're having to cover, and this would impact La Sara a great deal, because we're in the dark, and the solar lights, although he might have placed 35 of them, they're just in certain sections. The only lighting that we do have is the four-way stop, where you either turn to the school or the post office. And so this would really, and of course, these are estimations. It could be less, it could be more, but the impact, the advantage is greater. And so,
well, obviously it's a great impact, and there's a need, but that's the same throughout everywhere else. Southtown's bigger, we're dark over there too. So anyway, either all that being said, I'd like to stay within the budget as best as we possibly could. In particular, because we're doing the same in all of our projects, fighting to stay within budget. It's tough. It really is difficult.
So, okay, but getting back to, but you're not proposing not to have the lights, right? We're saying look to see
What's required.
what's required and whether or not we can do it.
Yeah, I would say we need to look and see if it's required. It's required. I just don't think they're going to be able to produce anything that says that, because we haven't had it so far. And number two is if we can do it like in kind, we can do it at a later time.
Even though, Kat, you're saying that at this point of the game, you don't think they'll approve it, us putting them up?
We can do it later.
It would have to be done concurrently with the street paving construction and be completed by the grant end date if it was done in kind.
Did you?
And yes, I don't think it's likely that TDA will approve that, but we could ask.
How many cost?
$1,250. Poles, lights, everything. 20 foot high. Pretty high, pretty
And
tall.
it's hard. And what would be an I know it's hard, but what would be the timetable for this project to be completed if we were to go with the paving? More or less.
Iris, do you have any thoughts on in terms of the time you need for
I think,
street design?
no, I think we need to know by when the grant needs to be closed by.
That's my next question.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Or pull up the extension request.
Maybe March. No, we're already.
We have until August 31st.
How long did it take you from planning it to?
From planning to put it up, 2 weeks. I had to order the poles through. They're galvanized. I didn't want regular steel.
So we could actually have the lights up before the road gets started. If, the right amount of lights. But the whole thing is whether or not it's required.
They look more commercial.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, this is the time.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did get confirmation to double check that the extra cost for the engineering rebidding would, yes, be covered by a grant fund, even if we don't do the street work.
So that's good. Because we're already, no matter how we look at it, we're already 50,000 in from the county.
Mhm.
So. And I think I asked the judge, the sewer project, the first time sewer is complete?
they're finishing up.
How many households, recipients?
Let me see. Kat, do you have that number? How many sewers? 1, 2.
For our project,
Yes.
it's 9.
It was always 9, so that's staying. Because they tried to extend it, but we were just not able to do it. Or,
Mm-hmm.
They're basically like the ones we put on, same features and all. Yeah, when you have a remote and you set it, right? And when they don't feel any movement, they're at 50% or 40%. Once they feel a car or movement come by, they go to 100%. But you want the brighter light. You want the biggest light you can get. You know what I mean? You want to light up the area. You just don't want to. Yeah. Kids playing on the road at night and all. You want to be able to see them. Yeah. People exercising.
People driving 80 miles an hour.
Popping fireworks.
so what do we want to do?
Well,
Make a motion with stipulations, or what are we gonna do?
well, what I'd rather not do is send it back. That's my stand on that, right? As far as whether or not, it's like everything. You apply more money, you get more, right? But
I'm always thinking about my checkbook. What's the balance in my checkbook? You know what I mean? I know we're gonna have to fork out
Because
some money, but
we gotta do with everything. I'm like you, I don't wanna leave any money on the table, that's not good, but I'd like to stay within budget. I don't know if we can put a motion forward that we go forward with, maybe some alternatives. Number
Yes.
one, we need to clarify the street lighting thing. And then number two, well, we already know that in-kind would be tough, but whether they're actually written, it's a requirement. We know TDA is a requirement, right? and then we go forward from there. Because I think with just the street light gone, we're within budget. Or am I wrong?
Close to it,
So that's 70.
and then we,
You're about $13.
$70,000 that we had estimated, just on
We're
the
88
street.
over, so we're about 18,000 over.
I'm sorry?
We'd be about 18 or 19,000 over budget.
With, if you include, I mean, we can make it, if we remove the street lighting and, we provide maybe some alternates on the paving, which I think the estimate, it was a full reconstruction, we could play with, potentially just proof rolling the subgrade and then coming in with, the flexible base and the asphalt brand new or some recycled material if there's enough. We could provide some options and then maybe be able to have that construction number meet what you have for the grant funds.
Which I was gonna ask you, we talked about this. Joe Munoz used some other kind of,
As the base, the geogrid,
The geogrid.
instead of the line.
is that what
Yes,
you're proposing?
It saves time.
Instead of working the base, you're able to put the geogrid, which is just a layer of, it's like a plastic roll, but it spreads out the pressure. And you're able to just put that and then work the rest instead of having to go to the subgrade and work the line. So it does speed it up. It does, in some cases, it does provide some cost benefits as well. So we could definitely include that in our alternate bid and see how those prices come in. We can give a couple of recommendations for that.
Then the other thing is that, with what I know, right, the street where it does have caliche, it's very little.
Okay.
And, other than just that one part where the trash is, but the rest of it is just.
Okay.
There are houses out there? Yeah.
Yes,
Residents, I should say.
yeah, there is.
What buses go by there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a potential. Makes sense, but I mean, we can only do what we can do. Makes, like I said, I keep going back to the budget, staying within budget. It looks like there's a possibility to stay within budget on this, in two different aspects.
Correct.
I was gonna jump in real quick because it sounds like, of course, the final decision is still, to be made and everything, but I can move forward and ask PDA, the county prefers to try to do the streets and do the lighting in kind. Would this be allowed? That's an option. Just want to make sure that's clear. But I can request it and see what they say.
All right. So you need
Specific.
direction as to what to do,
Correct.
what type of plants do
Yes.
we want to go out for bids.
Correct.
And back to your question, is we won't know until
I think we're good.
because
The way these designs look, I think.
the 330 is what you're projecting. Including the lights.
330 including the lights, correct.
Well, that's
Right.
right, because this is a.
If we're able to remove the lights and you guys would be taking care of that, then our engineering fees go down because then we wouldn't have the electrical engineer involved. So that would also decrease. And like I said, we could also take a look at getting several options on the cross-section of the road so that you can have options on when the bids come in to meet that budget.
And to me, I think it's gotta be a minimum of 20 foot. I mean, that's what,
Well, whatever they require. I know
that's what they were, a minimum.
We can do the 20 feet,
Because-
but we can do, not work the base and just do
Yeah.
the geogrid and do the top,
Right.
see if that saves cost. We can also break it up to where, one side will be the base bid and then the other side is gonna be an additive. If there's money, we can, move forward with this side. So there are several ways that we can work with how we present the plans so that we can piece something that will fit the budget.
Kat, let me ask you, you mentioned, you clarified that the fee, the engineering amendment of 35,000 would be covered, right? So,
Yeah.
let me give you a hypothetical. So let's say that we approve going out for bids in hope that the construction comes to the 330 or maybe less, right? Depending on what you find out about the lighting. But let me just, being the devil's advocate, let's say that the construction bid comes in high as it's done before. Can we include that fee if we decide not to go with it at that time because of the high bid?
So are you talking about the engineering design fee for that additional work?
Yes.
That would ultimately be Hanson's preference in terms of what they want in terms, to be compensated for, but it would not be covered by grant funding.
It would not?
For the additional.
No, if we're not actually doing the street construction, they're not going to cover the additional design for that project, for the street design.
But so far they are covering
The 35.
It's just that going forward anymore.
Yeah, the 30 is for the rebidding originally that's already taken place.
Right.
And what if, for example, we do the work, it goes out to bid, but then the bid prices are, come out really high, and at that time, it can't be awarded. Would our fees still be covered under the grant since?
What would the amount be? So the 65,000.
Right now we're estimating 70,000.
Okay. Let me pull up my spreadsheet here. So the total grant amount at that point would kind of depend. The total construction amount would determine what the engineering fee cap is. But if we are not increasing that construction amount, then the engineering fee cap will not be increased. Does that make sense? So if we're giving them back those construction funds, the engineering fee likely won't be covered. I mean, let me do a whole math real quick, but I don't know if it would be able to cover all of that.
So we can cover that. We can cross that bridge when we get there if we need to get there.
The 65,000 I don't think would be covered, and it would not be covered by the grant fund if we give back that construction funding.
Now, if that's the case, then we'll be in the same situation. With
It works. So, crazy question. At this point, nothing intended over here with Hanson. I guess it's too late to go out for RFQs or RFPs for engineering and the whole thing. Even though we got 338,000 left there. Or is this part of just a continuing process to try to close this out? Because we have till August.
Oh, you're saying to bring back the initial intent? Oh, I don't understand.
Well, I was just gonna say go out for bids again. For the whole thing, for the engineering and everything. But it doesn't sound like it's able because it's already locked in. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that would probably not be possible. I don't think that in terms of the options to the product, it would really benefit. It would provide many advantages.
So where are we at?
Roll the dice, spin it down, and even if we do what's on here, we're still not certain of what the bids are gonna come in.
Never are in any project.
So it may be even higher. Maybe it may be higher. I feel like if we, every time the historical data will tell you when we amended the project, we went from 432,000 over down to 264, so we almost cut it in half. So using that same logic in some of these projects, it's going to cut it a good, I would imagine 25 to 30% if we have to shorten the street or amend the project, put in alternatives. But the kicker is the light. You know, we don't want to shortchange anybody, but I'm still not sold that it's required. That's the whole thing. Whether or not they accept it as in-kind work, they're not going to do it now at this stage in the game. But the thing is it required or not? It's not. We will put them in a little bit less cost. But are you entertaining any?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and it doesn't have to have a second, but I want to say that I make a motion that we ask GrantWorks to continue with the engineering design of this CDBG contract number CFC 21-024. Now it's going to be street improvements. Number one, to provide some alternative design to lower the cost. And I'm going to ask GrantWorks to whether or not we need to know exactly, we have to follow the state law on the lighting, and would like to remain within the budget. I would like to remain within the budget of 368
368.
or 330.
Well,
No, 368.
from the 368, there's already a change order that needs to be paid out, which is the 22,500, and then the 35,000 for engineering fees.
So what's left?
That would be $311,212.
So that we stay within the budget, remaining budget of 311,212.
I have a motion by Commissioner Garcia
I second.
and a second by Commissioner Zamorano and just to clarify, so I want to make sure I get this right. The 31112 that's left over is already under the projected 330.
The 311 would need to cover the engineering fees for the additional scope of work and then construction. So we would need to either find out if we can remove the lighting, and then that would give up, $70,000, or we would need to remove scope from the project, shorten it, or find alternatives on how to bid it so that the cost is within the allotted amount.
I would say, yeah. It looks like so just to for instance, shortening the road would also shorten the amount of lights required.
Correct.
Keep the lights.
All right.
It's gonna be a give and
Okay.
take.
So I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Kat.
Yes, thank you too. Have a good day.
Okay.
Number 5?
So we go to line item number 4. Discussion next to accept grant through the Texas A&M Forest Service for a brush truck to be used at Santa Monica / Sebastian Volunteer Fire Department. So Kai, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I was getting a call.
Okay, no problem. Did you find out more or less how much brush trucks are going for nowadays?
I have, I was waiting on a third bid. I've got two, and I've told them the basic model and what was requested by the Forest Service. And I have one for 189 and one for 179. And I was waiting for the third one to see what they were within, but either way, looking at it, we're under 200.
All right.
It's good.
Okay, and the grant is for how much?
150. It's 90% up to 150,000, which either way, in order to get that 150 back, the county would have to pay the 165 and get 150 back.
Okay, so even if it was to cost even if the price would be 150, we would have to come up with 15,000.
More or less, yes. Yes,
It's a 90-10 grant.
It's a 90-10?
That's what he said.
yes.
But or anything over 150, right?
Anything over 150, which the lowest bidder right now that I have is 179. I just got to look at the specs. I didn't have a chance to look at the specs, and I was waiting for the third one so I can compare all three and see which one gives us the better truck for the price.
All right.
So we're looking at roughly about 30 grand? More or less.
15 and
27,
165.
35,
25 to 30?
35.
35. We, Chief, this is our, Garcia. We
Yes,
don't have an existing brush truck for the Santa Monica area or Precinct 4 Eastern area. And your brush truck is,
No, sir.
your brush truck is on it needs a little TLC, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Once again, going in the same thought as the judge in his infinite wisdom, we hate to let a grant go, right? I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know, on this, especially with these firefighting pieces of equipment. They're very costly, but when they need them, they really need them.
Oh yeah.
I was at a fire yesterday that it was a brush fire in Lyford, and yeah, you don't really worry about the cost when you're trying to get somebody out there. But regardless, we have to once again stay within budget. But if you're taking motions at this point, because we still got a long way to go, depending on the price. And I would make a motion to accept the grant through the Texas A&M Forest Service for the brush truck to be used by the Santa Monica / Sebastian / volunteer fire departments. Action required.
I have a motion by Commissioner Garcia. Can I entertain a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tejeda. Any more discussion?
This is a time.
Where would it be housed? Let's just say in the future.
That's a very good question, Commissioner Tejeda. I met with the chief last Monday. We talked in
Yes, sir.
depth about that. Obviously, it would till it gets completely outfitted, it probably would be in Sebastian. But we're working on reactivating the Santa Monica folks. Ideally, if we could find something, I would like it to be housed somewhere up there on the east. It's not my say; it's the chief's say. I think I understood him to say the same. Somewhere where he could have access if he responds from somewhere to jump on it and go east. I didn't want to put words in your mouth. Does that sound right, Chief?
Yes, yes. We have 4 members available in the Santa Monica area, and the next step is finding a place to house it. And yes, we're working on it, and as soon as we can figure something out, But like you said, we still have some time before we get to that point. But still, I would like to continue working on it.
Chief Aurelio, this is Alanis. I wanted to ask, did you find out if you were able to purchase a used brush truck with that same money?
Yes, I looked into it and I asked the lady there at the Forest Service, and she says that there is a possibility, but that due to the paperwork it's recommended just to go ahead and get a new truck.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We just had a big fire. I don't know if you probably out there on Saturday at in Citation area, Willamar.
Okay. No, sir, we have 4 firefighters at fire school, and 4 of my firefighters in Sebastian went to fire school, and I was not available, unfortunately.
Yeah, San Pedrito, Raymondville, Lightford, everybody was out there. And also,
Yes, sir.
The biggest issue that we have over there, I was over there because we have a water truck to supply the
Yes, sir.
water for all the trucks. We were out there all afternoon. It was actually got real close to 4 residents. And the biggest deal is water supply.
Yes.
I'm wondering if someone or somebody can look into Santa Monica area. I know there's a fire hydrant right off of 1018.
Yes.
And wondering maybe we have, the fire departments can have some kind of access to water.
We use there's one right there on 1018 and 2099, and then there's another one further right before 1420?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, where that shrimp farm used to be?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Those are the 2 main ones that we use depending on the area where the fire is. And we do have a tanker. We use the Sebastian tanker is used, and then we rely heavily on
That's right.
Raymondville has a big tanker that we borrow, or we call them up for water support.
Yeah, not anymore. They blew the engine on that thing.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
Sebastian was there helping out.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, but no problem then. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Thank you, Chief. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's me.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Line item number 5. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion by Commissioner Tijerina, second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Motion carries.